Okay, thank you everybody for joining today's session. It's going to be a focus on eco reporting. Um, so we have just some housekeeping points to make up front. This session is being recorded, and of course we will share with you the recording afterwards and follow up if there's any questions. I think most people are going to be on mute during the session, but we have allowed some time at the end for a Q&A panel. So any questions, just kind of note them down or possibly share them actually using the comment line, and we'll pick them up at the end of the session. Okay. So my name is Barry Yelverton. I'm one of the founders and CTO for product development with RedFaire. And with me today from eyko is Paul Sutton, who's one of the founders of eyko and head of commercial development at eyko. So Paul's going to be doing most of the driving on today's session. I just thought it might be useful to give a little bit of background on RedFaire's relation with eyko, and it goes back quite a bit because, and Paul will explain this in more detail, but previously eyko would have been Hubble, previous to that would have been Insight, and I believe previous to that was GL Company, going right back. So they've got a very strong history and caliber in reporting requirements in the JD Edwards ecosystem, in the JD Edwards install base. They've always been a player in that space, so they've always been obviously producing good software, meeting the right business requirements. You may or may not know, but RedFaire are also a JD Edwards user. So we actually use JD Edwards as a back office ERP. It's hosted on OCI Cloud 9. We use cloud services to extend and integrate elements of our JD Edwards application, and we've also deployed eyko. So that deployment actually was quite straightforward. It was pretty quick to deliver. And today, as part of our in-house operations, we use eyko, and we continue to use it and roll it out to other parts of our business. For me, one of the aspects of eyko that I liked and thought was quite interesting, as I said, there was always that caliber and that strength in terms of reporting for JD Edwards within Insight and Hubble. But I think by focusing on later technology, more advanced modern technology, leveraging low-code capabilities, and perhaps more importantly, AI. I think eyko have come up with something that's very, very relevant to today's business requirements. Functionality and capability that wouldn't have really been possible on earlier technologies. So it's a real advantage that they've kind of timed their design and their development cycles around what's available, which is quite exciting. And one thing we've noticed as well is the speed at which it's evolving and new functionality coming in. So, I mean, look, in a nutshell, it's a cloud-based, I suppose, modern AI-focused tool that can meet not just reporting, but also dashboard and AI insight requirements. So I know Paul's going to talk a little bit more in more detail, but as a means of introduction, I thought that might be useful to let people aware that we're using it as well. And one final point is we've also in those endeavors we've also trained internal resources, so we have the capability to deliver eyko to our customers today. All right, over to you, Paul.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Thanks for the kind words and the introduction. So eyko, as Barry said, our background, the founders and the team that created eyko were the people who built the Insight software Hubble GL reporting business. We sold that business in 2018 to a US private equity firm. So if there's anybody on the call who's a Hubble or Insight user, don't blame us for any maintenance increases or support, etc., etc. But we actually didn't set out to the genesis of behind eyko was really what our Hubble customers were telling us, was that more and more of their business data lived in systems outside JD Edwards, and over time, as a single source reporting tool, we would report over less and less of their business as time went on. They had now best of breed applications in cloud, on premise, etc., and the challenge was really how do they stitch all that data together. So we feel that the JD Edwards single source reporting market is well served by companies, let's say, like Hubble and even Reports Now. We in creating eyko, we wanted to create a product that, let's say, would meet the things or solve the problems those systems couldn't need. So we weren't looking to replace them. We were looking to do the things that they couldn't do. And as Barry said, sort of that sort of evolution onto a new technology platform just sort of came around at the right time with the emergence of AI and what's possible, let's say, with AI in the ability to be able to deliver insights over large data sets. So if I look at it, what is eyko? The vision that we had was your business data lives in a range of disconnected systems. Your challenge is how do you pull all that data together for reporting and analytics purposes? Our goal was to enable you to connect, excuse me, to source systems, depending on whether you were running on premise or they were running in the cloud, or even external data services like industry or market specific data that might originate outside the organization. The idea was that eyko could connect to all those systems, bring the data together, clean it, enrich it, get it in the right shape, and then give people the ability to build their own reports and dashboards, let's say, over a curated data set that could come together from a range of different systems. What do we mean by a modern data platform? One of the key components is a system that's designed to work over multiple systems. And what I mean by that is truly designed to work over multiple systems. We know from our past, people will do incredible gymnastics with F55 tables, maybe loading data in from other systems into the F55 tables. That's a sort of workaround for some people in some scenarios. But if you truly want to connect to cloud, on-premise, external data services, you need to have a system that's designed to do that. The other thing that we wanted to do is because of our heritage, let's say in the JD Edwards and the EBS and now Fusion space, we also wanted to make sure that the system was designed to understand the systems that you connect to. So when we connect to JD Edwards, we understand the idiosyncrasies of that system, table names, field names, lookups, joins, et cetera, Julian dates, decimal shifting. So a modern day reporting and analytics platform that understood the systems that you connected to. The other thing that we wanted to try and address was that, we found in our previous worlds that the reporting tools, the single source reporting tools appeal to a certain community of user. So, whether it was people in finance or people in IT. And what we felt was a modern platform needs to meet the needs of a wider range of people, right? People need more than ad hoc inquiry and tabular reporting. They need Power BI type analytics. They need AI. They need slice and dice. They need the ability to integrate with Excel. And our sense was that if we could meet the needs of a greater range of systems, we could do a couple of things. One is that we could rationalize the number of tools people need. But also the other thing that we could do by rationalizing the number of tools is multiple tools mean multiple silos, means multiple reconciliations. So if you could get it all in a single platform, you would simplify that reconciliation. The next thing we wanted to touch on, and we partnered with OpenAI, the guys behind ChatGPT, nearly 4 years ago now, way in advance of chat ever coming along. And at that time, because eyko is truly a multi-data source system, we connect to multiple systems, we bring the data together, we clean it, enrich it. We were leveraging their machine learning and natural language processing technology to clean data from multiple systems. Customers always underestimate how dirty their data is. If sometimes it might be clean in a system, but not across system. So that technology gave us the ability to clean that way beyond what you would ever might want to do in Excel, let's say. And then obviously when chat came along, it gave us the ability to leverage some of those chat type capabilities in order to be able to get better insights. And I'll touch on that towards the end of the presentation. Our goal was to deliver it all in a single platform and to be able to go end to end. Our sense was that would make it easy for customers and partners. So rather than having to be a black belt in a number of different tools, you become a black belt in eyko and be able to meet the needs. And I suppose we were chasing that holy grail of last mile and self-service. So if we did it in a single platform from end to end, could we make it so easy that anybody could get information out of a system and not be reliant on other people? The alternatives before we came along, data warehousing obviously is an option for people Really not really designed for operational or transactional reporting, but does give you the ability to pull data together from multiple systems and potentially get it in the right shape. Tend to be expensive, tend to take a long time to value. As I say, not if you want to build an income statement or a balance sheet and drill all the way to doc type, you're not doing enough data, let's say, that's in a data warehouse. The other side of the scale is other companies, smaller companies, maybe would have gone down, again, incredible gymnastics in Excel, pulling data from multiple systems, stitching it together, pivot tables, lookups, trying to join it all together, manual, prone to error. And even though Excel runs to 1.1 million rows now at this stage, if you're a large company and you want to do that, drill down from balances right away to transactions, you very quickly eat into that 1.1 as you do that. More technical companies would have maybe gone down the route of buying a couple of tools. So an ETL tool to take data out of a system, a data prep tool to get it all in the right shape, maybe a data visualization tool, let's say like Power BI or ClickView or Tableau to visualize it. Yeah, no need to build a custom solution. There's nothing particularly special about somebody's business requirement to do it. And then finally, I suppose we've seen over the last couple of years the emergence of Power BI as trying to position itself as an enterprise reporting and analytics type platform. There are a number of limitations, let's say, in Power BI being able to do that. The ability to be able to have a live connection to multiple systems, the lack of a hierarchy, not even inheriting JD Edwards security, et cetera, et cetera. So while it's part of a solution, it's not necessarily an enterprise type reporting and analytics platform in our mind. So the goal with eyko was a single end-to-end platform, enable you to connect to any source, cloud, on-premise, external data services. We bring the data onto the platform. We ingest it at whatever frequency you want. We use the term right time, so it can be real time for certain use cases, and every 15 minutes, every hour, once a day, once a week, once a year for other use cases. We clean it, we enrich it, we get it in the right shape. We give you the ability to build new assets in the data, new calculations, maybe a unified chart of account structure, whatever you want to do. We put the data into an in-memory stream, as Barry said, some of the later type technologies. And then those streams are the basis by which people can go and build their own reports, build their own dashboards, run their AI playbooks, go and ask AI questions, et cetera, et cetera. The platform is a cloud-based platform. It's licensed as a subscription. It runs on Microsoft Azure. We leverage a lot of the fabric type technology. So if people like some of the fabric type technologies, we use things like we leverage, let's say, ADF for connections to systems. We leverage analysis services for in-memory databases. What we're really doing here as a multi-data source platform is we're pulling the data or whatever data is required for reporting and analytics onto the eyko platform. So we're taking away maybe some of the performance impact of some of those tools that maybe query your production environment, let's say, and we're moving it into a new environment designed specifically for reporting and analytics purposes. Types of problems we solve for people. So, at the moment, it's AI is quite topical. Everybody's trying to work out, is it friend or foe, how they can use it, how they can leverage it, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll see in eyko AI conversations and AI playbooks, how we can, let's say, simplify how people get information out of systems. You may see on our website in certain places, we make reference to things like reporting is dead. Clearly, we don't mean reporting is dead because, eyko is a reporting and analytics type platform. What we mean is the need to write a report in order to get information out of a system is going away. Multi-data source reporting and analytics, connecting to various different systems, pulling it all together, being able to report over it, let's say, so JD Edwards, Salesforce, HubSpot, Kronos, whatever, et cetera, getting that single view of, let's say, any part of your business by pulling the data from multiple systems together in order to do it. Cloud apps, a lot of, custom reporting is hard in cloud applications. If you can use standard applications, standard reporting, you can, but for lots of people who, believe that their requirements are specific, you want to do custom type reporting, particularly around financial statements and that sort of stuff. So eyko's ability to be able to connect to cloud, pull the data out of, let's say, the cloud environment and give you the ability to report over it, gives you complete freedom and flexibility around that. We also have some customers who would use eyko for ERP consolidation. So running multiple instances of JD Edwards or made an acquisition and I've got a company running I run JD Edwards, but the new company runs Epicor or Infor or some other system like that. We give you the ability to connect to both systems, pull the data together, report over it, create a unified chart of account structure in eyko. So at whatever level you want, let's say, so and being able to do that, let's say at a balances or a transaction type level. For people who are maybe moving to cloud or people who have an issue with, let's say, large volumes, we have the ability to be able to connect to an archive and a production system and report over it as if it was all in one system. And then let's say for some people who want to maybe use eyko, let's say not with our reporting and analytics capability, but as a data blending and streaming platform, because you've got a lot of skill set maybe built up in ClickView or Tableau or Power BI, you can use eyko as a data blending platform to pull data together from multiple systems, and then a streaming platform to feed that in for people to be able to build their own Power BI dashboards, et cetera, et cetera. So last slide here, what makes us different? Well, probably the biggest thing is, we built a reporting and analytics platform that understands the systems that you run out of the box, because a large chunk of the work involved in the time to value in doing this is around trying to make sense, let's say, of ERP data. JD Edwards itself is particularly idiosyncratic with its Julian dates and decimal shifting. So an ability to be able to connect to those systems and automatically make sense of the data is quite important. We also, look to try and rationalize the number of tools that people need. Tools don't just mean price. Tools also mean points of failure, places where data needs to be reconciled. My spreadsheet data doesn't tie up with my dashboards, doesn't tie up with my financial statements, etc. We wanted to try and be able to go end to end in a single platform. So companies and partners only need to be proficient in one tool and not a range of tools. And obviously the goal, let's say, was to try and meet the needs, a wider range of needs. Our sense is that if you introduce a new product or a new platform and it only caters to a certain number of people, the people who are left behind will go and build their own shadow data system, and you're back in a world of having to reconcile data across multiple systems. And the net benefit of all this is that effectively you're up and running in days, not months or years. So that's really just the overview of what eyko is all about. I'm just going to drop out here now for a second and going to jump into the software and take you through, let's say, a high-level presentation of some of the elements of the software. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. You should see some black and orange on it. This is, as I say, eyko. It's a cloud-based platform. Couple of concepts that we need to get across to start with. Two concepts in particular on the tabs, designs and streams. So if I think about a design is, think about it as a data project. I'm going to go and connect to, let's say, JD Edwards. I'm going to connect to Salesforce. I'm going to connect to some other system. I'm going to go and bring data from those systems onto the eyko platform. I'm going to clean it, enrich it, add new dimensions to it, build a little data model. And then when I'm finished doing that, I'm going to put my data into a stream. And the stream is the delivery mechanism by which we deliver data from the model to the reporting and analytics capability or to other third-party type tools. No limit to the number of designs, no limit to the number of streams. In fact, we encourage people to, to build lots of streams. So a stream for sales, a stream for finance, a stream for IT, a stream for procurement, etc., a stream for Paul, a stream for Barry. It just makes it easier for people to work with and build their reports off the curated streams if you keep them smaller. So that's the role of a designer. We also have two other user types within the system, creator and viewer. These live in our reporting and analytics capability, and I'll show you that in a second. A creator is somebody who wants to build their own reports and dashboards, either for their own purposes or they want to share it with other people. And a viewer user is somebody who wants to, view reports or dashboards or have AI questions or AI answers, but don't want to actually build anything themselves. They just want to interact with what's there. So let's just quickly step through a couple of things. There's a couple of things in Designer that I think are worth sort of touching on, let's say, for the audience that we have here today. So here I have a little design called Paul Demo. It's really very simple. What systems do I want to connect to? What data from those systems do I want to work with? What enrichment do I want to do with that data? And how do I want to blend it all together? So here in this design, I'm connected to 4 different systems: Microsoft AdventureWorks, Excel, Think about, the amount of data that's sitting in Excel around your organization. We give you the ability to maybe pull that data together, almost create Excel as a database and blend it with data, let's say from JD Edwards or Salesforce or other systems. I obviously have JD Edwards here and I have Salesforce. So how easy is it to connect to a system? So I come in here, I give it a name, I select from my drop down a series of connectors. eyko comes with connectors to about 200 systems out of the box. If we come across a system where we don't have a connector, it's normally 3 to 5 days in order to connect to it. But here in this example, I'll select Salesforce, cloud-based system. I'll need to provide a token in order to go and connect to that system. In this example here, my JD Edwards database is running on SQL Server on Azure. I've got a different set of credentials in order to connect in. If I want to maybe come up and maybe set up a new connection, I press add, hit start, give it a name, select from the drop down, maybe NetSuite. And in order to go connect to NetSuite, I just need an account ID to do it. So really easy for people to be able to go and connect to systems. Entities then is what data do you want to work from those systems? So let me just go to JD Edwards to start with. Now here's the JD Edwards data as it comes onto the platform before we apply our smarts or what we call application intelligence. In this example here, I've just brought in a couple of tables. But if I go to the non-ingested here, here's all the other tables that exist, let's say in JD Edwards, including your custom tables, etc., all available for you to be able to bring onto the platform. So I go to the ingested, talk about the application intelligence. So I want to go and apply my data smarts, let's say, to these set of tables. I just select the tables, I apply the smarts, and I press save and close. And eyko is now going to go off and it's going to look at the data dictionary and it's going to come back and it's going to sort out my table names, my field names, my Julian dates, my decimal shifting, my lookups and my joins, all as part of that activity. So whatever chance somebody had of making sense of data, when you were presented with GM Co, now you immediately identify that it's company name, it's account ID, it's business unit, et cetera, et cetera. So really makes it really easy for people to be able to work, let's say, with the data. And as I say, that's one of the things that we've invested in building that intelligence into this reporting and analytics platform. So the user doesn't need to be an expert in those systems in order to be able to do it. The other thing worth showing while I'm on the entities tab is the ingestion. Here's where you set up the ingestion schedule about how often you want to refresh the data onto the eyko platform. As I say, we work in a world of write time. But in this, basically at an entity level, you can decide how often you want to refresh the data onto the platform. So if there's certain times of the month that there's certain things where you want to have real time, we switch on change data capture in order to refresh the data onto the platform. But in lots of other cases, every 15 minutes, every half an hour, once a day, once a week will suffice for other use cases. Assets is all about how we go and enrich the data. So in this example here, it's where I might want to create a clean customer master list, where I might want to maybe do some lookups as to how I want to make sense of the data. It's in here. I would build a classification for a unified chart of account structure where I was pulling data from 2 different ERP systems with 2 different chart of account structures. I can create my unified one in eyko and map all the data together. We can do it through smart matching, through logic, and through manually, let's say, just creating parent-child type relationships, let's say, in the eyko platform in order to do it. And then anywhere you see, and then here, this is how you blend it all together, right? So in this example here, anywhere you see a magic wand, it's where eyko has done some sort of transformation. And here in this example here, eyko is suggesting how you can potentially join all this data together from the multiple systems. So in building my design, I've connected to some systems, I've brought in some data, I've done some enrichment, I've blended it together. And the last thing you effectively do then at this point in time is you just come in and build a stream. And this is really where you're selecting whatever data you want from the design, whatever assets that you built that didn't exist in the raw data, that you built in eyko into the stream, how you want to blend it all together, and you create your stream. Excuse me, eyko's clever enough to be able to work out when I bring new data onto the platform, if the data the stream needs to be refreshed, it automatically can do that. So this whole thing is kept in sync automatically as you set up your ingestion schedule to refresh the data. the streams that are affected by that refresh will automatically get brought up to date, so you don't need to have to do anything manual. I'm now at a stage where I've got data from multiple systems in a stream. I'm going to now switch over to our reporting analytics capability and show you, give you some examples, let's say, of what you can do from a reporting analytics purpose. So this is my demo system. So forgive me, it's quite busy here. I've got lots of examples, let's say, within it. But this is our reporting analytics capability. If this was a customer, it would be personalized with company colors, logos, etc., just to create and give the impression of a feel that this is a purpose-based information system, let's say, for the organization, encourage users to adopt it and use it. So as a multi-data source platform, the first place I'm going to start is I'm going to look here. We basically gather all the reports together. There you go. I've been logged out because I've been sitting there too long. Let me just go log back in. So back where I was. So we present, let's say, the data in or the reports and the analytics. We just save them in a file structure, right? So in this example here, I create swim lanes, give them a name, and then move my reports in there. One of the big things that's important to us, let's say, around eyko is this idea of 360s. And let me just make this bigger so people can see it, etc. Because we're because we're designed to be a multi-data source reporting and analytics platform, 360s give you just a great sense of the power and the capability of the platform. In this example, it's a customer 360 that you can build, let's say. And if you think about it in your own organization, customer data might live in a bunch of different systems, right? It might be across 3 or 4 or 5 different systems. So when you look at this, this looks like a report, right? I've got, customers coming down. I've got, let's say, different things about the customer in the columns as I work across. For the people who are paying attention, you might actually go, well, that's interesting because, not all of that data seems like it's coming from one system. So, and exactly what we can do here, let's say, from an eyko point of view, is we've got a grid type in eyko that gives you the ability to be able to create multiple tabs as part of a drill down. So here in this example here, I'm looking at Summit Gearworks as a customer. And this is where maybe it starts to move away from being a report and feel more like an application. Because against Summit Gearworks, I've got a total line for sure. But here I can, on the tabs, I've set up this report to give me multiple tabs. And here I'm seeing my sales orders on one line. I'm seeing on the order margins on the next line, my order deliveries, my order reviews, products, what products are part, what are the product margins, what are the campaigns that we're running, what are the sales opportunities in Salesforce, what quotes do I have outstanding, what help desk cases are currently open, etc., all against, let's say, an individual customer. So we've connected to the range of systems the customer lives in. We've brought the data together. We've cleaned it up, we put it in a stream, and we give you the ability to be able to build these types of reports over it. So it's probably the best example for people to be able to get their head around the concept of what you can do with a multi-data source system. Next one I want to touch on is, let's say, financial statements. One of the things that you'll see here, let me sort of go out of interactive mode here. Let me make it bigger so you can see it. Let me go full screen. So this is, again, an example of, let's say, what we would call pixel perfect, income statements. We see lots of people who are still building income statement, balance sheet, their core financial reports in Excel, not because that's where the data lives. It's because they want the flexibility to be able to stylize every cell in a particular way. So single underline, double underline, bold, italics. What do you do when a percent in a row meets a percent in a column, etc.? All that's possible, let's say, in the eyko grid for you to be able to build. In this example here, where let's say we're looking at an income statement across a year, we've pinned the total on the right-hand side. But you've got that full visibility of being able to drill from the balances all the way down, right the way through to the underlying transactions, let's say. So an example, let's say, of a type of financial type statement that you can build. Conscious of time, so a couple of things just to sort of to finish up on. If I come down here, let's say, and look at this one here, this is an example, let's say, of a dashboard that you can build in eyko. In this particular part of the product, we've used embedded Power BI in order to provide this analytics type capability. The reason we sort of like embedded, we like Power BI, but we don't think Power BI or desktop Power BI is an end user tool. It tends to be quite technical. When end users go in there, they get frightened about all the options that are available to them. So we decided to license embedded Power BI, which gave us the ability to be able to program it and to code it and to modify it in the way that we wanted to. We see a number of issues that exist, let's say, in Power BI in the context of it doesn't inherit J.D. Edwards security, can't build a hierarchy, all that sort of stuff. So effectively, they're all the things that I've fixed. But here you get a sense of a dashboard that you can build. The reason I'm just showing you this, I'm just going to quickly just jump over to Creator and just show you how quickly it is to build one of these things. So I come up here, I press Add, press Start, give it a name. Two things the user needs to decide to know. What stream do I want to use? So I'm going to pick up eyko Bikes as a stream. And then what presentation template do I want to use? So this looks a bit like the one that I saw on the screen. I'm just going to go press Create. eyko's going to go off and it's going to pull the data from the stream and load it into the application. It's going to go off and get the presentation template and empty it and load it into the application. And then quite simply as a user, I'm just going to pull data out of the stream and put it onto my report and dashboard. The user didn't need to know what systems they were connecting to, where this data came from, whether it came from J.D. Edwards, Salesforce, or any other system. The user didn't need to know anything about Power BI. It's all being presented to them, let's say, in this environment. So here I quite simply come in, maybe click on this metric, and I'm simply just selecting from the stream and populating, let's say, the dashboard. Don't have to be a Power BI expert. Don't need to understand all the idiosyncrasies of my data and how it all joins together. Maybe here in this example here, I want country, drilling down to customer name. And then maybe in the columns, I want price, cost, and margin. And it's interactive and I can drill down and you get a sense of really how easy it is to go build it. So in that example there, don't need to understand the structure of my data. The designer has taken the job of pulling it all together, curating it, getting it in the right shape, putting it in a stream. And then as an end user, I'm literally coming in and selecting a template and going to populate a template. If you're a Power BI organization and you've already got a series of templates, eyko comes with a gallery as part of it, but you can also incorporate, let's say, your own templates in. Last thing I want to touch on before we wrap up is, let me just close there, is AI, let's say. And one of the things I think we're in the business, let's say, the eyko AI type capability on the platform is not really about agents. It's not really about trying to find a way to automate your call center or anything else like that. It is really around how you can leverage these AI type technologies in order to help you make better decisions or run your business better. And it comes really in two flavors in our mind. So the first one is what we call, let's say, conversations. So I'm just going to come in here and start a conversation. So I'm going to press start, add, and I want to have a conversation, in this example, with a stream. So, and let me just hit create. So in this example here, and this is where we think this lowers the technical bar for people who want to get information out of a system. And this is where we make those claims about maybe reporting is dead. Because if you think about it, a lot of the reports you have in your organization start with somebody asking a question. and then it sort of develops from there. So maybe in a world, let's say, with AI type conversations, people can just come in and ask questions of a curated data set from multiple systems. We position eco as universal AI. We believe that every system will come with its own AI capability, but invariably will only report over, or will only apply it over the data within that system. In this example here, because we're pulling data together from multiple systems, we give you the ability to sort of have a universal AI that's across a blended data set from multiple systems. So in this example here, I don't know what's in the stream, so I can just start with a question, which is describe the data. And it's going to go off. And it's going to tell me that this stream is made up of a whole bunch of contacts, employers, product reviews, type data, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe I just want to go and ask a simple question. What are the top selling products? What are the top selling products by units? And it's going to go off and look at the data in the stream, and it's going to return me the top 10 selling products, ramp rider. These are all bikes. It's all bike related data, and the number of units. So in that context, they're really easy for people to be able to go and ask questions of a report, ask questions of a stream, ask questions of a stream that's from either just from JD Edwards, or it can be a stream from a combination of a range of different systems together. And as I say, in this journey of trying to move the chains down the field in order to get to self-service, we think that this ability to be able to go ask questions and get answers back. And one of the beauty, let's say, of Eco AI is that we're not sending all this data out to ChatGPT. We have built, let's say, an API connection between the AIs that exist out there and Eco, so the data stays within the Eco environment, let's say, and it's secure. And the other thing that's important while I'm on this subject is that if you've applied, let's say, JD Edwards security to your system, we carry it right the way through, not just your reports and dashboard, but also to the AI. So if I ask a question against a data set that I'm not authorized I'm not set up in Eco to see, I don't get to see the results, let's say. Last thing then, just before I move off, and I'm just going to switch over to viewer mode here because it gives me more screen space, is this idea of playbooks. So think about playbooks as, let's say, I want to get a deep insight into, and this is in my mind, the second way where AI can help, right? First one is simplifying how people get information out of a system. But the second one is to be able to get insights and anomalies into data from multiple systems. Even if your brain was big enough to be able to understand it, you're probably not going to be able to process the volume of data that comes with it. So in this example here, it's a deep dive. It's where you want to go and ask a question and pose a question of a data set. So let me just expand this one out. So in this example here, I pose the question, I want to understand customer risk based on the sentiment of feedback from orders and product reviews. So I'm going to go off and look, it's going to go off and look at all my survey results back from SurveyMonkey or whatever else like that around the products or the service that I provide. It's going to, understand sentiment from that, unstructured data, and then it's going to map it back, let's say, to structured data in an ERP system. So in this example here, it's gone off, it's looked at 1,123 records, so 900 odd were product reviews, the rest were order reviews. It's coming down here, it's creating a baseline sentiment as to positive, negative, etc. across the board. It's then going on to look at the high-risk customers, the medium-risk customers, and maybe watch list, and even goes on towards the end to sort of suggest some actions that you can do in order to potentially rectify the situation. So that's the idea, let's say, of a customer risk playbook. Another example I want to touch on while I'm here is, let's say, if I go, let's say, look at this tariff deep dive. In this example here, the challenge I posed, let's say, I want to reduce my dependency on Chinese suppliers because of tariffs, right? So this is right in the heart of JD Edwards in the bill of materials, trying to being able to identify who are the Chinese suppliers, who are the Chinese components, and looking at it across a complex hierarchy, let's say, of a bill of materials. Here it's gone off and it's identified, here's all the products with China components in them. It's worked out the China costs, the China elements, let's say, of the products. It's then gone on to sort of suggest, here it's suggesting the alternatives, right? So if you do want to replace the CPT 152, here's two non-China items. It's giving you, here's the cost, 15.4, the margin 33.8, the price 33.8, margin 54%. Here's the supplier name, here's where they're located, et cetera, et cetera. So really quite deep analysis. It goes on to give you potentially repricing options if you want to implement them. This is a system curated where you've just posed a challenge. User curated playbooks give you the ability to be able to define the chapters and what you want in the chapters and whether you want it to be represented as text or with a chart or with a graph or whatever. One of the reasons why we are very confident about the accuracy of our AI is really it comes in two components. Component number one is because we trust that because we're connecting to your systems, we're curating your data, we're getting it in the right shape. We know we're passing good data, let's say, to the AI component of the platform. We also include with that what we call augmented intelligence, where we pass in an understanding of JD Edwards, an understanding how you've implemented it. We pass in prompt engineering so people, understand what your role is and what type of information you want to get back. So we believe we do a great job in providing the right data in there in the first place as an unfair advantage. But the second thing that we do is when I hit this tab over here is we think that the key to AI adoption for people in the world of information is going to be a key focus around accuracy, reliability, and trust of the results. If people lose trust, they'll stop using it. So not only do they want to know you're feeding it the right data, they also will want to understand what it's doing. And that's what we're showing you here on this screen here. So in this example here, here's the output that I've created as part of the playbook, right? So you can see that. But here's the reasoning, i.e. the model and the thinking it went through. And here's the evidence, in order to verify the data. So in order to do this, eyko AI in the background took my question of, I want to reduce dependency on Chinese suppliers because of tariffs. It broke it down into a bunch of different queries. In this example here, it's gone off and it's run 12 different queries in order to pull back the data. It tells you in each example what it's doing and why it's doing it, let's say, as part of the process. So you fully understand what it's trying to do, let's say, in trying to come up, let's say, with the outcome. And then it puts it all back together and creates, let's say, it autonomously creates this output, let's say, for people. So if you think about it in the context of what would it take, let's say, a human in order to do it, I'd need to go and build these 12 queries. I'd need to build my model and reasoning, and then I'd need to create the output. And in that context there, it's probably something that's going to take quite a bit of time in order to do. But you also have the ability, though, or the vision that we have for this is really in this last thing that I'm going to show you. And this is this idea of a daily briefing. So imagine you come into work in the morning and what you get is while you're having your cup of coffee or even on your phone on the way in or whatever else like that, whatever is your working practice, you get a daily briefing of what happened in the business or what happened in your part of the business, let's say yesterday, right? And because this stuff is all leveraging, let's say, AI and automation, it's possible to be able to do this at whatever frequency you want. So in this example here, it's telling me this is for the 2nd of June, and it's just because our demo data is not up to date. But, daily business update for the 2nd of June. Here's the high-level summary of what happened. Here's the orders that were taken on the day. Here's what the salespeople did. Here's what deliveries were due, what support tickets were open, what campaigns were kicked off. Let's say what quotes, et cetera, were raised, what opportunities are closing in the next number of days, et cetera, how the various different organizations are performing. So that's really just an example of what's possible, let's say, with this type of platform. So as I say, we didn't create eyko to replace, let's say, what are good single source reporting tools existed in the market. We're very much a believer that businesses now run their organization across multiple different systems. The challenge is to bring it all together. We want to enable people to build their own reports, to be able to build their own dashboards, to be able to slice and dice and build their own models. And then obviously for people to be able to get AI answers and AI insights. We license this as an end-to-end platform. So you can go and license all the capabilities as all part of a single platform. Or for people who are broadly happy with their own reporting analytics capability, you can license our Eco AI conversations and Eco AI playbooks as a standalone component in its own right. So as I say, if you're happy broadly with what you have and have a lot of effort and sweat invested in building your reports, et cetera, in the various different tools, but the thing you're missing is the AI, we can do that. Or if you feel this is the right time to potentially re-platform onto a modern data platform to leverage these types of technologies going forward, we can license you the entire platform. And that's it, Barry. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover.
Wow. There was a lot there, Paul. Just a few points that kind of jumped out for me. Obviously, there's that kind of foundation linked to JD Edwards. You know, you mentioned the data dictionary in JDE. Automatically, it identifies those fields, those descriptions. The even challenges in the past now. It's probably the distant past, but things like date formats, all of that is all taken care of. JD security, which has always been a touch point and a concern for potential customers. All of that's kind of taken care of out of the box, and that's just the baseline. But obviously, there's a lot more here than just JD, as you point out. It can pull data from multiple sources, which opens up, I suppose, massive and the real opportunity around things like analytics. And then moving towards those playbooks and AI. I mean, on the AI side, it's the whole world is trying to figure out how this can fit what we do. And obviously in our kind of JD Oracle ecosystem, we're also trying to do the same type of thing. And it's kind of moving more towards that agentics. So leaving the data where it is and actually building some AI components around it. So as opposed to AI being one all-encompassing entity, it's looking like it's kind of more agent-based at the moment. That seems to be a more logical way to go. And I think what you present here aligns well with that way of thinking.
Yeah, I think it's a logical way to go, Barry, because who knows what are going to be the winning and losing technologies in AI, a couple of years down the road. So you really want to have a platform where you can plug and play. So if we come across an AI technology that's better at math or reasoning or creating certain types of output, you just plug that in, right? And so I think that's why it is a longer term. It's a much better way to go because it is the winners and losers have yet to be decided in that market long term, in my mind. Yeah.
And that idea of it kind of extending or enhancing what customers might already have, because as you know better than any of us, this is a very competitive space. Going back to your Insight days, your Hubble days, most JD Edwards customers will have a reporting solution of some kind. Now that might be, reaching kind of end of life. So there's an opportunity to replace it with something much more modern, such as Eco, or as you say, it could simply enhance what's already there by, opening up opportunity to pull data from multiple sources and add that AI component. So is that something that can be positioned?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I was on a call with a former Hubble customer a couple of weeks ago. They told me they had 7,000 reports built in Hubble. I had to apologize to them for building a product that enabled them to do that and all the reporting debt that would build up, right? So in that scenario there, sometimes the resistance to change is because it's just going to take too much effort to get back to where I am in a different platform, right? So that's where in our mind, if the place to start is, and we try and why not start, let's say, in the AI type space, do something you can't currently do now, right? License that at a fraction of the price of the overall platform. And then over time, you can maybe decide to replace some of the other bits with a new modern platform, but you're not doing that straight away. You're doing that, after you get some new stuff out of a new tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that like that idea of a playbook? I know you did. I think I saw you do that for one of our customers
Yeah.
as a kind of a pre-sales approach, perhaps the idea of positioning the playbook. Is that something you can lead with for other customers?
Yeah, so what we typically do is that we give you the ability to license, let's say, the playbook type or the AI components, uh, on a monthly basis, right? So if you don't like it, we switch it off. But broadly, the way it works is if there's a part of your business that you're not comfortable with, or you think you've got a problem, give us some data to support it. We'll build a playbook around it, show you what's possible, and then off you go type thing, right? So it literally from the time it takes from the time we get your data to having a playbook is less than 90 minutes back.
Okay. So that's something that will allow customers to, test the solution or test elements of the solution without
Yeah.
committing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a way to dip your toe in the water and something that you don't have.
Mm.
We don't want to because AI is so hot at the moment, we don't want to do free POCs. So we just say, listen, pay a small amount of money, sign up for a month, we'll build you some stuff. If you don't like it at the end of the month, switch it off.
Yeah.
Right. And that's typically the way that we would sort of encourage people to go forward.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's any questions, Niamh or Mark.
Oh, hold on, we have a question from Mike.
Yeah, Paul, this may be obvious to everyone, but so you're pulling data from multiple sources, right? So all the manipulation that is done on eyko, right? So
yeah.
So will pulling that information from my production JD, will it have any kind of impact on production?
No, not that we see. Yeah, we haven't seen any to date. Because you decide when you want to refresh it, all that sort of stuff, etc. We haven't seen anybody sort of notice when we're ingesting data, let's say, from the system. It's a background type activity that runs on a schedule, right? It would probably have less impact than maybe running an open-ended query across a large production database, right? So, no, we haven't seen it to be an issue, to tell you the truth, Mike.
Cool.
Very good.
So look, that's great, Paul. Thank you very much. Very enlightening, very insightful. A lot there, I think, for people to consider. Lots of different layers of capability. You can kind of almost see the origins, as I mentioned earlier, and kind of veering back towards the insight days, but obviously there's an awful lot more in this. And obviously, I presume there's a fairly strong roadmap as well. This is a product that's evolving. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So look, thank you, Paul. Thanks, Niamh. Thanks everybody for participating. As we said, we will share with you the recording. And if you have any questions or any further requirements in relation to this, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.